So today we'll talk about the innocence, like we brought up the topic last time, which is a beautiful thing. Innocence is different thing for different people, and innocence can be something that can be perceived by the society, like the innocence of a child. We can perceive it. We know that children are innocent. Why can we perceive? Because we know we are not. The difference between us and the child is very striking. Because child is in joy, happiness mode all the time. But we are not. We are not happy all the time. We are not in a joy mood all the time. So what is the difference? There is innocence of a child, but if that's all we were talking about, we all were born with it. So what's the big deal? It is something that is given to us by the nature. So where did we lose it? And how come we are not happy like a child? So that was the whole purpose of discussing the spiritually speaking. So it's a whole journey that we go through to realize what mistakes we have done. So the path of spirituality is basically coming back to your normal state, which is supposed to be. Joyful all the time, innocent all the time. The journey that we have to go through is a tough journey because we have learned so many things that we have to unlearn through meditation, realizing that these are the mistakes that we have done. And all that careful analysis, the wisdom, it continues brooding within your mind, and you realize, and then exposure to the highest consciousness, it really shows you your true nature. And then little by little the sansar starts fading. Right now we are involved in the sansar. Why do the child looks innocent? Don't think that they are innocent as they are. The only difference between, say, the innocence of a child and then innocence of a saint, for example, Rishi Prabhakar, you see that in their nature and their behavior. They are so childlike, but there is a vast difference, miles and miles of difference between a child's innocence and the innocence of a saint. The difference is the children, they look innocent, but they still are born with the vrittis and vasanas from their previous life. It's like a seed is born on a tree. It's carrying out its genetic mode to make a new tree. So this genetic mode is carrying it from one tree to the next tree. The problem is the genetic coding carries and builds a new tree, but it doesn't have any memory of the previous tree. What that tree might have gone through, the sufferings, all these storms, it might have withered, the cold or water shortage, whatever. None of that is available as a knowledge to the new tree. Same way, the child carries his vrittis and vasanas from previous life, and then it manifests as the child gets bigger and older. His vrittis and vasanas remain hidden until the proper opportunities arise. His body starts building up, his ego starts building up, and then the variability in different children starts manifesting. That's why two children being born in the same family are not alike, each one carrying a different set of vrittis and vasanas. See, the science can only decipher the genetic code, but it cannot decipher the vrittis and vasanas, which is much more abstract. All our emotions, and the vrittis are the tendencies, which way you tend to go. Those are your tendencies. Vasanas are deep, unfulfilled desires. So there is no scientific way of measuring or perceiving it, because it's all at perception level, which is very difficult. So only when you go deep within, you can decipher your hidden vrittis and vasanas. So these vrittis and vasanas in children they start manifesting as they get bigger. So that I always give an example. If 5 friends go to a village, one guy may be very religious and will be looking for a temple. One guy may be looking for a bar. Another guy may be looking for friends or lake or woods. Depends upon their nature. Everybody behaves. Same way this whole world is a village. We all are born with our own set of vrittis and vasanas. So don't get misguided by the innocence of a child which has hidden ego. It's still there. So it manifests. But at least as an example, as a benchmark, you can tell how a life can be. That's why Vijay traced the pleasure, the happiness, the joy, and then bliss state. All these things ultimately leads to the innocence. So all these steps are already included in the innocence. If you look at it, child is always happy. He's always in a joyful mood. He doesn't really care because his ego has not developed yet. Ego means what? Ego means your belief that you are the body. For up to 2.5 years, the child doesn't even know who he is. His consciousness is lost until it settles down that yes, this body is moving with me wherever I go, and this must be me. And once it is a newfound treasure, the child wants to protect it. He wants to prevent himself from falling. His experiences have not built up. His past doesn't exist. So he doesn't care about the future. In the fire, he's going to jump because he's never been burned with the fire. So we have to protect the children. That's why the family comes together and protects the child. So child needs protection. So he's not worried about the future because he doesn't have a past. So future is recreation of the good things of the past. Whatever we had good things, we want to have it again. Have it again. As my grandson says, more. If you do something good, he says, more. Kunal, he says, more. So he wants to recreate. So this is how the ego starts expanding, based on the center of those vrittis and vasanas. And then it manifests. And the whole sansar opens up. And the child is enjoying his life no more. As soon as the school starts, competition starts, and everybody diversifies, and the sansar sets in with sufferings and greed and anger and competitions and all those things. Me and mine and all these things builds up. So the joys of the child is because of the undeveloped ego. But the joys of the innocence of a saint is transcendence of the ego, which is a big thing because it is right there. It is a reality. For child, ego, he doesn't even know the ego. So for him, there is no suffering. He doesn't worry about the regrets. He doesn't have anything to regret because he doesn't even know who he is. So even if he does something and something happens, he doesn't feel sorry because he has nothing, there is no ego sense with him. So the transcendence of the ego requires a lot of journey. The ego is the cause of your suffering. Ego is your meanness and mindness. And to protect that, mind is only an extension of me. Only if, because me is there, I want to make more money so that my me can survive. I want to make more fame, make my friends. So I can relate myself to all those things and all those people. People walk away from me, I feel sad. People come into my life, I feel happy. Money comes, I'm very happy. Money leaves, I'm very unhappy. So our relationship with the people, objects, situations decides our happiness. And the sansar is unpredictable. Many things can happen. Things can go up, things can go down. So our happiness also goes up, goes down. All these things are related, but ultimately in the center of all this happiness and unhappiness is me. Am I having a good time at the party or not? If I'm not, maybe this is not the right crowd. Maybe I should change the friends. Whatever. Examples. There are so many ways the ego can make you suffer. But ultimately the center of all that is meanness. This is me. And that meanness causes the expansion of mindness. So, and that's where the struggle comes. So as you realize in the spirituality, as you go deeper and the meditation, all the thoughts keep on running. But if you be steady and start learning how to just observe your thoughts, little by little, the patience, little perseverance, the silence connects with you. Silence, which is inside, the consciousness, the darkness, the nothingness is not nothing. There is nothing like nothingness in this universe. Everything is filled with something. Dark matter, dark energy. It's something there we cannot perceive, but it's there. That godliness fills up every single space. There is nothing like emptiness. So this dark nothingness starts coming alive. With what? With awareness. The awareness makes you aware of your thoughts. So you start having a dialogue inside, within yourself, that yes, thoughts are running, but who is aware of the thoughts? So little by little the sansar starts receding and you connect with your consciousness. And then, even the thought that I am this, even the meanness starts fading away. And yet you still exist. You don't die. Meanness dies, but the mindness dies, but you don't die because you shift your focus from meanness and mindness to selfness. The selfness is the subjectivity. See, there is the subjectivity and there is objectivity. For any reaction to happen, I need to look at someone or something. I have to be here. So I am the subject, the person or the another object is an object. The person becomes an object. That's how the reaction starts. But as you keep receding further back in, even meanness and mindness, that I am Shranik, I am this, I am that, becomes an object. It's a thought. But then what survives is only the subjectivity. The emptiness that we thought was empty is the ultimate observer of everything. All your experiences that you're going through, we are lost in it. Say, okay, I had something to eat, I enjoyed. Alright, or I didn't enjoy. We think that we enjoyed that. But silently, all the observation is being done and recorded in the consciousness level. So without consciousness, even you cannot survive. Consciousness is your life force, your inner urja that's keeping you alive. Not only it's keeping you alive, but it also provides you with the full awareness, abundant awareness, which we use every single reaction, every single experience in life, whether we connect with friends or objects or situations, fame, recognitions, everything where you need awareness. And there is an ocean of awareness everywhere, but it's also within us. So you start dipping into that and you become the awareness. That's the shift of self-realization. So sannyasi goes through all these things. The saints goes through all these things and they mature up to realize that true self, that I am the consciousness. Whatever else has come, and if it has come, it will go also. So coming and going is a natural way of how the world operates, and there is nothing wrong with that, because every time there is a creation, something has to be destroyed. So destruction and creation, that's why the Hindu philosophy is based on lay and sarjan. Whatever is created is going to be destroyed, and there is nothing wrong with it because it's not yours. You are not that. So the ownership also becomes meaningless because there is nothing to own. If it is a continuously changing cycle, whatever you own is also going to be gone, is going to be taken away. So that concept of ownership arises with the arising of the ego. You, the same children who were playing innocently with each other, as soon as they turn 2.5, 3, it's my toy. And he cannot play with it. And then suddenly the barrier starts and boundary starts and fighting starts. So whoever has realized the sufferings of the ego in a very, very inner state of meditation realizes that peace and tranquility is the ultimate state. That's our primordial state. Imagine the universe which was created. Before that, there was nothing. There was no commotion because all the matter was in the form of energy. Energy has no form. So this formless state of existence was the original primordial state. Now the children are forced to be in that state because the ego has not developed, but saint chooses this state. That's maturity. When you make enough efforts, and Yoga Vasishtha says it's beautiful. He says, when your efforts are sincere and you are perseverant in your pursuing of the ultimate truth of life, which comes as a shocker to everybody in the sansar, that this is not you. And it's really a major truth revelation. If your efforts are very, very perseverant and you really pursue the path well, the consciousness does a favor to you. And that favor is the wisdom. The wisdom starts coming up. Wisdom becomes your company. It literally takes you from sansar to God. And this godliness, there is no human God. So that's a ridiculous way of depicting the vast godliness. It cannot be put in the form. That's why that way Muslim religion has a better idea. The formless godliness, which is the right way. Of course, you get corrupted because then you destroy somebody else's images. Then you believe because their belief is in their images, but by destruction of imaging, you think you're destroying their gods, which is again silly. So godliness is formlessness. So this formlessness, when it sends a messenger to you, and that messenger is the wisdom. When that comes, nobody knows. Krishna says it is sitting within your psyche. It's the spirituality is a flower bird, like a bird of a flower. When it opens, nobody knows. All you can do is make efforts, and that's all. 50% your efforts, the other 50%, the divine message has to come to you. And all these things literally happens. The wisdom starts, suddenly you start realizing, what am I doing? Why am I running after all these things? After all, I'm gonna be living with nothing. Why am I not getting along with you or this or that? Why am I having these differences? Drop it. It's causing me unnecessary trouble. What's the point? I won an argument, but did I win a friend? No. I won the argument, but I lost a friend. What is more important, friend or the argument? Things like that start brooding, and the wisdom starts taking you. You start commenting on such and such person. He's like this, he's like that. What is that? Right? When we find faults in others, what are we actually proving? That indirectly I am better.
Right, yeah.
I am better than him.
I stop arguing with Sangeeta.
So in a very subtle way, the ego plays. And we don't realize this. As if we live our life as if nothing is going on. But deep inside, the unhappiness that is continuously becoming prevalent, we are living with that 24/7, and we don't have to live like that. We can become children. The Jesus was asked once, who will be eligible to get to the kingdom of heaven according to you? So there was a child, he raised the child. He said, anybody who can become like him is allowed to enter in the kingdom of heaven, where there is nothing but peace, tranquility, joy, happiness. But not childish. Childish is different than childlike. Childlike innocence that can be developed ultimately will allow you into that kingdom of consciousness. So your efforts have to be genuine, but when the wisdom starts arising, don't neglect it. Even if you get a single thought of wisdom, grab it and follow it. And little by little, it takes you away from the sufferings. And then ego, which you've been holding on to very hard and fast, ego is the last thing that will drop off, because ego does not want to die. It wants to prove itself again and again. And why? Because ego is your mind. The mind does not disappear. Keep it in mind. The egoistic mind is divisive. It creates a difference between you and someone else. And always try to prove and tells you that you're better, you're good, you're good. They have to do this, they have to do this for you because I'm good. All this rigmarole goes on is because of the mind. But once the wisdom gets merged with the mind, then the mind starts rethinking its own strategy. Same mind which was taking you into sansar, into the hell, now will say that maybe I should look into the vast consciousness. What else is there? Let me merge with it. Let me find out where it is. Let me find out the truth about who am I. All these things. So same mind, instead of reveling itself in the duality, now starts going into the singularity which binds all. The consciousness binds everyone. So yesterday I was just talking to Sushma about what goes on in sansar. We are all made out of mitti. We are earth. We came from the earth, all the elements. And we are attached to each other. We have attachment, we have desires and all this. So we are connected. What happens when soil is connected to the soil with some medium? Turns into mud.
Sure.
Kada, mud, right? So sansar is nothing but mud. And there is nothing to hate about it either. But realizing that any attachment keeps you in the sansar. Whether you are attached to a person or an object or a situation. You want recognition, you're attached to the sansar. You want money, you're attached to the sansar. Even if you make tons of money, to spend it, you still are gonna need the sansar. You have $10 billion, where are you gonna spend? 400 million yard, no problem. But you still need sansar, somebody has to make it. It's all built in. So mud, you are born in, and mud, you will be dying in. Where is the progress? Nothing. So the only time when the lotus starts blooming, the lotus is of spirituality. When the lotus starts rising, it stays above the mud. It knows its past, but it also knows the future. The future is connection with the consciousness, which is the divine light that is always there. The mud is the darkness, but he doesn't hate it. He doesn't hate the sansar. Why? Because sansar is what's going to give him all these experiences to prove again and again and again that this is sansar is. When you have friends, you're not learning. When you have enemies, you learn a lot. Because they prove to you that this is how sansar is. So your conviction inside becomes deeper and deeper and deeper that I am on the right path. The path is of that spirituality. So the lotus starts blooming. That's why Sahasrara Chakra is a 1,000-petal lotus. So that's how the progress of spirituality happens. But the lotus cannot survive without the sansar. It still receives its nourishment from the mud. It doesn't fly in the air. So we are all connected. When you reach to a higher state, there is no hatred. There is no hatred between any of these things. So every single moment becomes a moment of experience. You are literally drinking divinity, because when you reach at a very high state, the consciousness state, everything is consciousness. All the mass came from the energy. So E equal to MC square. There is nothing to hate, but everything to love. And every experience, one at a time, this is the nectar, the amrut that's being fed to you by consciousness. It turns into the divine, the lotus. So the innocence which comes out is the lotus that you and I can see in the behavior on the face of the saints, which we can see the same thing on the children. But a vast ocean is between the child and the saint. All right? So much for today.